right, welcome to part 3 of our 8-part series, which is strength. So today we're going to start with a pranayama practice. So start seated, easy, comfortable seated position. We're going to use our right hand for digital breathing. This is called Surya Bedan. So you're going to breathe in through your right nostril, seal your left. And then when you're ready to exhale, breathe out of your left nostril, seal your right with your thumb. And then when you're ready to breathe back in, you're going to reseal your left nostril and breathe back in through the right. And you might even practice a slight pause in between each breath where both fingers are sealing both nostrils just for a brief moment. Allow your breath to move in as soon as you release that nostril and out as soon as you release the left. So you're breathing in right, out left. Inhale when you go through the right and exhale when you breathe out of the left. Just take a few rounds here. Make sure that you're not leaning forward. Relax your right shoulder. And don't push too hard on your nostrils. It doesn't need to be airtight. Also, if this is very stressful for you to do with your hands, you could easily just sit with your hands on your lap and visualize breathing in through the right side and breathing out through the left. And as you're breathing here in through right, out through left, notice if you're getting warm, if you're feeling any extra energy. And at the same time, there's a softening, there's a quieting of the mind. So this is going to help build focus and clarity and pointedness. So you're building heat, you're building warmth, but at the same time, it's not out of control. It's within reason. And then just let your hand rest on your thigh, on your knee. Take a couple rounds of natural breath here. We're going to start with some gentle movement, so you can move your head a little side to side. You can keep your eyes closed at this point. A little twist off to one side, so right hand, left thigh, or left hand, right thigh, and twist over your shoulder. Just this natural breath here. Untwist, inhale. And then when you're ready to the second side, if you need a moment to sit between sides, please do so. And then when you're ready, untwist and come back to seated. Then we're going to take a side bend. You can slide your right hand out beside you. So you can take your elbow to the floor. If that's too intense or if it makes your left sit bone come up, just lift your elbow and slide your hand out away from you. And then reach overhead. It just should feel good. It doesn't need to be deep or crazy. And then the left side, stretch out to your left. Slide your left hand away again. If you want that left elbow on the floor, that's fine. Maybe even a block. So meet yourself in the middle. Use your hand overhead as it feels good, maybe on the back of your head. And then come back up to seated. Forward fold down through the center of the crossing of your ankles. Just a brief bow here. Big inhale. And then come back up to seated. So you'll switch your ankle crossing. Give yourself a hug first. Seated Apanasan, little hug knees to chest. We all need a hug about right now. And then recross your ankles the opposite way, so the opposite ankles in front. And go ahead and twist, and you can go to either side. It does not matter which side you go to first. So just switch, crossing opposite hand to thigh, looking over that shoulder. And then when you inhale, release, and twist opposite direction. And as you twist, keep your neck nice and tall, keep your spine tall, keep your sitting bones both. It's not a strong push, but it's just an active grounding. Back through center. And then again, we're going to bow here in a forward fold, or you're not. You're going to go to the side. Never mind. Stretch off to the right. Inhale, come back up. And stretch off to the left. And inhale when you're ready, come back up. And now we're going to go into a forward fold. There we go. Breathe right into those back ribs, soften your hips. All right, so we're going to just come up to stand and move right into it. Find your balance at the top of your mat, standing samastitihi. Pushing down through your heels, spreading out through your toes. Inhale, reach your arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. Forward fold, exhale, Uttanasana. Put a slight bend in your knees if you need that for the first go here. Step back into plank. Pause here. Strong upper body, so open your chest. Try not to push your back up to the ceiling. And then knees down, thighs down, hips down as you bend your elbows. Just an easy chaturanga to start. Inhale, cobra, lift your belly button, lift your chin. And then exhale, push up over your knees. Tuck your toes. We're going to go back to plank. Pause here, chest through your shoulders. And then back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Smooth breath in and out of your nose. Strong thighs, so you're squeezing your kneecaps up. Press out through your palms and your fingertips and your knuckles, and then lift up in those back inner wrists. Okay, walk forward into standing forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, all the way up. Samastitihi, exhale, standing pose. Get your balance, and then when you're ready, inhale, reach back up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. And then I'm going to step back, opposite foot this time, plank pose. Again, chest pulls through shoulders, thighs are strong. Drop your tailbone a little. And then I'm going to go knees and hold chaturanga, so thighs and hips still hover. And then inhale, cobra. So that was kind of a modified chaturanga there, a step up from the first modification. You can sit back into child's pose here for a moment. And of course, at any point in time throughout this practice, do find child's pose. Maybe it's nice to close your eyes down here and just let your forehead rest for a moment. All right, and we're going to step right back into this kneeling side plank. So from tabletop, right knee stays on the floor, turn so your left foot comes back and your left hand up. And I'm going to stretch arm overhead. It just feels good. Nice little side bend. And come back into table. We'll go to the second side. So you're just going to switch over, kneeling on your left. Left toe is just going to swing behind your knee. Right foot out to the floor, to the back of your mat, and right hand up to the ceiling. Again, stretch your right arm overhead. If it feels good. If it doesn't, don't do that. And then roll right over into tabletop pose. That's a good little setup for transitioning from side plank with straight legs into plank. Plank pose. Pause here. And then up and back, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Again, really strong hands, strong arms, strong legs, strong core. Smooth back, lengthen out the upper back and the low back. Okay, walk it up to the top of your mat. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Push down into your feet. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Samastitihi, exhale, standing pose. Again, just a moment to find your balance. There's no rush. You can always pause the video and take an extra longer break. Inhale, reach up, and then exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Go ahead and lift up halfway just for that extra stretch, and then step back into plank right out of that half fold. Exhale, chaturanga. You can keep those knees bent to the floor or go straight legs this time, but hold the chaturanga for just a moment. Drop that tailbone. And then inhale into cobra or upward facing dog, flipping to the tops of your feet. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Smooth out your back, lift those hips. Your heels do not need to be on the floor. That's not the goal of downward facing dog, but if they're on the floor, try to avoid your tailbone dropping down towards the floor. So lift your tailbone up to the ceiling. Okay, then start to walk back up to your hands with your feet, back into a forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, push down through your feet, reach up nice and tall, use those back muscles to extend your spine. Samastitihi, standing pose. Right, standing pose here just for a moment. We're going to move on. Chair pose, Utkatasana, fierce pose. Reach your arms as you sit towards your heels. And then you're going to fold and then straighten your legs. So here you can shoot back if you'd like, or you can step back. If you're shooting back, you're going right into bent elbows. Hold that, pause, and then inhale, up dog. If you've stepped back into plank, slowly lower down. Inhale, upward facing dog, and then exhale, downward facing dog. You're going to step your right foot forward, warrior one. Inhale, reach your arms. You can take goalpost arms. You can have hands at heart for prayer pose or hands at hips. Just one breath there, and then place your palms back down. So we're going to go over to this modified side plank. So now try to keep your bottom leg straight. You're on your left hand and your left leg. Right foot is in front of your left leg as a kickstand. Try to lift the outer left ankle bone up off the floor. And then you're going to come back over into plank with right knee on the right arm. And then little step back. Exhale, down, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Left foot's going to step. Take a clearing round of breath first if you need. Take your time and catch up as you're ready. Or again, pause the video if you need extra time. Warrior one big breath. And then again, those hands come down. Now you're going to turn to the outside of your right foot. And that left foot's going to come back under the knee. Right hand is pressing down. Left arm is stretching up. You can take your gaze up or down, maybe even out to the side of the room. Try to lift the outer ankle bone of your bottom leg up off the floor. Right, and then come right back into that, knee to the arm, a little step back, not a big deal. Boom, there it is, plank pose. Exhale, chaturanga. Again, remember you can take knees down first. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Also, you could take elbows to the floor here, an elbow dog if your wrists are getting tired, and always tabletop is very nice here. Cat-cow movements, child's pose. Again, pause the video if you know what you like to do and just take some time to work it out. I'm going to try a little hop up here. You can hop or you can step up. And forward fold, exhale, Uttanasana. Bend your knees, Utkatasana, fierce pose. Reach your arms. And press to straight leg stand, Samastitihi. Inhale back up with your arms. Forward fold, exhale, Uttanasana. A little half lift as you inhale and shoot back chaturanga or step back to plank and then lower down chaturanga. Inhale into cobra or upward facing dog. And then come up to tabletop pose, hands and knees. Right leg back behind you, left arm forward, Chakravakasana, little balancing posture here in tabletop. Try not to lift your right foot too high so that you're just lifting the heel maybe a tiny bit higher than your glutes, so there's a nice gluteal engagement there. Okay, so I'm going to put my left hand back down and sweep over into a very modified wild thing here, but I'm going to try to take that right foot up over my left calf. And then I'm going to even lift it and hover it, squeeze that heel up. Good, then swoosh back over. Now we're in a one knee, 8-point bow. So chest and chin on the floor. You can pause the video here and take a gander at this if you're confused. And then push up into 3-leg dog. I didn't like that so much, but whatever. This is why I teach these things to you guys typically and don't actually do them. Now come into plank pose, knee to your arm, and we're going to do some knee slides. Right knee up, right knee down. It can touch the floor. Your toes can touch the floor while you do this as well. So don't worry about putting your toes on the floor. Just sliding your knee up and down like you're cleaning your right arm with your right knee. Okay, forget the sound effects. All right, step back, downward facing dog. All right, knees to the floor. Going to do a second side. So now your right hand, left leg back. A little spinal balance, engage your core, and try to smooth out the upper left shoulder. Mine's a little rounded there. I want to flatten out that shoulder blade a little bit, but Right hand back down when you're ready, and then turn over to the right knee. Now your left foot's going to come way up over the back of your right calf, and it's like a little wild thing here. If you're comfortable here, then try to lift that heel up and just squeeze it before you turn back over into your tabletop pose. Had a little butt cramp there. Chin bow here, and tuck your toes and push up and back. And then open that hip if you need. We're going to lower that leg down in a minute. I do realize later in the class that I forgot to do those knee slides. We'll get to it. Don't worry. All right. Knees to the floor. Open your chest. Sit back. Child's pose. All right. From child's pose, come back up into downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. And then going to go for another little hop up. Maybe hold a little handstand wobble. And then lower your feet down to the floor. Hug in, forward fold. Inhale, stretch up nice and tall, Urdhva Hastasana. Samastitihi. All right, Utkatasana, fierce pose. You're going to take your hands maybe to heart or hips because we're going to step right back into warrior one. Keep that right knee bent as you do. We'll be here for a few moments. Seal your outer left foot down. Lift your inner left shin up away from the floor. And take your inner right thigh and stretch it straight forward. Back of your head over the back of your hips. And then you're going to step forward into Utkatasana again, fierce pose. Ready, second side, step back right foot now. Keep that left knee bent, right heel down. Reach your arms up when you're ready. Or again, you could take your hands to heart. You could have your hands at hips. They don't need to stretch up. Left knee over left ankle. Inhale in and up. So your breath is moving in and up. And then you're going to step forward again, Utkatasana, fierce pose. So once again, we're going to step back with the left leg. Turn your heel down, and this time warrior two, open your arms. Again, those hands are just slightly higher than your shoulders to allow the head of your humerus to sit back down into the glenohumeral joint. Press your inner right knee forward, stretch your inner right thigh forward. Relax your toes on the floor, and then come back up into Utkatasana. You can use your left arm to swing yourself forward. Yeah, I was getting a little deep there in my hips. You can play with it. Play with that chair pose. Express it. Make it feel like yours and make it look like yours. It doesn't have to look like mine. Please don't. Right foot back, warrior two. Pressing back with your right foot. Pressing forward with your left heel, but at the same time squeezing the ends of your mat together with your feet. And then swing forward into chair pose, Utkatasana. One more posture here. We're going to take this into a balancing pose. If you want your blocks or your chair handy for warrior three, get that guy ready. And then you're going to lift your left foot. Keep the right knee bent until you find your balance. That's much easier. Stretch your left leg back behind you and keep pushing into that right thigh. So you can straighten out your right leg as you're ready. You don't need to ever straighten it out. You could also take your hands wherever you want them. You can fly them forward or out to the side. And then back into chair, smooth, slow control. Good. Side two. If you need a moment to straighten out your legs because your legs are like, what the hell's going on right now? Then do it. Pause the video or catch up, okay? Second side. Keep that left knee bent as you need. Press your right foot back. Right heel as high as your right sit bone. Again, you could use blocks here or a chair. Ooh, ooh. And notice those arms really have a big effect on this. So take them where they're going to help you. If arms going forward isn't helping, don't do it. I probably should have kept my arms to the side here. Do as I say, not as I do. All right, chair pose, fierce pose, and forward fold. Let that go. And shake it out here as much as you need. Inhale, half lift. And then shoot back or step back through a chaturanga. Inhale into cobra or up dog. Exhale, up and back, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Smooth that breath out. Smooth your lines out here. All right, step your right foot up, warrior two. Let me tell you, this mat is crap, so my feet were sliding and it was awful. Get a good mat. All right, so reverse warrior, left hand down your left leg, right arm up and back. Open your right side up. You can look down here at first. Keep your right knee going forward. Side angle, for this one, try not to lean on anything. Maybe just put your right hand on the front of your right shin and pull instead of push. So it's really, really right hip work. So that's strengthening the left ankle, left thigh, the right glutes, the left glutes, the right outer thigh. Inhale, reverse warrior, pause. And exhale, side angle. Again, it's more of a pull than a lean. Try to really get those front low belly muscles to engage as well. So squeeze your two front hip bones toward each other and press down with your feet, squeezing your back muscles as well, your glutes. Good, one more. Inhale, reverse warrior. And then on your exhale into that side angle. Pull the right shin. Stretch your left arm. Look up to your left fingers. Keep pushing back with your back foot. And then come back up to standing. Turn your heels in and your toes out. Little goddess squat. So I needed a moment here to stretch out. So you can kind of sway side to side. Rest your elbows on your thighs if that feels good. You can even reach down and grab your ankles and push your knees out with your elbows. But make sure your sit bones are pressing back and your knees are over your ankles. You can come up into a standing posture here with your arms up, goalpost arms, hands at heart. Good. And then come right into a pyramid stretch to stretch those legs out. So you're spinning over your right leg. Good. And step back into downward facing dog. Child's pose also is fine here. Come into chaturanga so that you can then move into upward facing dog to stretch out the front of those thighs. They were just screaming probably. Good. And then exhale up and back, downward facing dog. Catch your breath here. Take as long as you need to rest. Pause the video if you need. And then when you're ready, your left foot will come forward. Get that second side in. Set up warrior two, Virabhadrasana B. Okay, first one, reverse warrior. Stretch your right hand down your right leg, left arm up behind. And then as you exhale, take your left hand down the front of your left shin and take your right arm forward. So your fingertips could come down towards your foot or your ankle. Again, try to pull instead of lean. And then inhale, come back up through center. So instead of just flinging yourself back and forth between the two poses, stop in the middle at warrior two for a brief moment. Inhale, reverse warrior, right hand down the right leg, left hand up and back. You can look up at this point if it's okay for your neck. Exhale, side angle. Stretch out with your right arm, press back with your right foot. Inhale. Oof, sometimes you need a little help. My legs were getting so shredded here. Inhale back into that reverse warrior now. Again, take a moment in that warrior two first. And exhale, side angle. Lean out into it. Strong legs. And up you go. Into goddess squat, Devyasana. So again, you could put your elbows on your thighs. You could grab your ankles. Stretch your knees apart with your elbows. And then after a moment here, just turn it over into that pyramid stretch. So you're going to spin over your left leg, both legs straight. You could lift the back heel off the floor here if it's too intense. Good. Step right back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. If you want to get a chaturanga in, go ahead into plank. Otherwise, rest for a moment in downward facing dog or child's pose. If you're moving through chaturanga, then move through upward facing dog or cobra just to stretch out the front of those hips. And exhale back to child's pose, hips to heels. Stretch out forward with your arms. Rest your forehead on the floor. Give yourself a break. Breathe in, slow breath, calm your breath down here. Just takes a moment. All right, and then come up into tabletop pose. Little sway side to side with your hips. Okay, and we're going to move into side plank. So from plank, get your 2 feet together, squeeze your ankles together, and go over to your right hand and your right foot so you can revisit any of the modified plank variations that we did throughout this class. If you're in side plank, try not to let your toes fall back. Try not to let your hips fall back. Keep your all 10 toes pointing straight forward. Okay, so here's where I was like, oh shit, we forgot to do those knee slides. So here you go, yay. Left knee to left arm. Slide your knee down. Oops, there we go. Up, down, up, down. Clean the back of that left arm. Yeah. Again, you can use your toes on the floor. All right, step right back. And you can give that hip a little opening if that hip was tight. All right, so you can stay here in this 3-leg dog, head to toes to head, scorpion, or you can move it into a chin stand. You can take your chin towards the floor, balance in chaturanga with your chin on the floor and your feet up to the ceiling. An alternative here is just have 1 foot on the floor and 1 leg up. We already did that at the beginning of the practice. And then shoot back chaturanga. That all happened very quickly, so if you need to rewind, please do. It happens quickly because I like to get through it quickly. All right, child's pose for just a moment. And then again, tabletop and just waggle your hips a little. You're going to set up for side plank on the second side. Feet straight or knees straight, feet together, ankles together, turn to your left hand, left foot. Your left wrist should be just slightly in front of your left shoulder or right below it, but definitely not behind it. And again, try not to let your heels fall back. So if my right heel were to come back any more, my right hip is a little back too far. I'd like to take those toes forward more. So I should probably take my right hip towards the ropes a little bit more. All right, come into plank. And then we're going to move right into that 3-leg dog since we don't need to do the elbow slides or the knee slide on the other side. And then again here, you can stay in this 3-leg dog with your toe to head, head to toe. And then you can tap your chin to the floor. You can keep your left foot on the floor, or you can kick both feet up to the ceiling. Pause the video to play with this. Maybe put a chair behind you or put your feet up the wall to do that posture. Inhale and exhale. Give yourself a rest. So later on, I'll probably get to post a tutorial on that. On this class library. You can come back and find that later, right? Child's pose to rest. Cross your forearms if this feels better. Give those wrists a rest. They've done a lot, so give them a break. You can cross your forearms and pillow your forehead. All right, and then as you're ready, come back up into forward fold. Actually, we're going to squat here, malasana. So walk your feet up to your hands and take our lunge pose. Pad up those heels if you need. If you've got an extra blanket or something at home, you can put under your heels, drop your heels down to the floor, and then hug around. You can hug around to your heels. If you want to hug around your back, you're welcome to do that. When you take your forehead down to the floor, you maybe even put a block under your forehead, but drop those heels towards the floor and drop your butt down towards your heels. Something I'm doing here is taking my arms back and stretching back. Now my heels can come on the floor. My hands act like a kickstand. All right, so it's the setup for crane. We're going to move into crane now, Bakasana. You might want to grab a block. And this is a really good way to actually experience the full, the experience of crane itself without falling on your face. So if you put a block under your feet, and mine's a 4-inch block, so that's lifted my feet 4 inches. So now you're just going to rock forward and back with arms straight, palms flat. So bent elbow crane is not a thing. It's just a tripod setup. Crane is straight arms. There's no such thing as crow versus crane. So straight arms forward. See how far my shoulders go over my fingertips? Lift those toes. Squeeze your heels to your butt. Squeeze, 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 and then toes come back down. All right, if you want to try that a couple more times, pause this video and go for it. I'm going to move right into a toe balance here. It's kind of challenging. So toe balance right on that block. And then lift your arms up, stretch your hands up. You leave the block where it is and shoot back chaturanga so your hips can come down to the block, and then you can take a hip supported upward facing dog. Feels so good. And then come back into a forehead block supported child's pose. If that block was not there, get it, because we're going to use it here in a moment. Or anything you have at home, like a big book. Find your Harry Potter books or something. Anahatasan, chest to the block now. It's intended to be a very gentle, supportive opening. So maybe not feeling fireworks here, and that's fine. You don't need to. Okay, so walk your hands forward of the block and go into downward facing dog so that your head can rest on that block. You might have to turn it up a little higher, or you might have to find something else you can put under there. But you're going to step up with your right foot over the block and step back. Left foot, step forward over the block, tap. Lift your foot up over the block, step back. Right foot, step over the block, tap. Oh, I cheated. I went around the block. And then step forward over the block and up and back over the block. Back to downward facing dog. And do that one more time each side. Right foot. You can actually do it a few more times. Pause the video and have fun with this. If you want to do like 10, go for it. Left foot over, tap, and back to downward facing dog. And just rest. Take a moment, forehead on the block. So now you're going to hop over the block, both feet. Yeah. Again, I only did that once, so if you want to pause this video and try that a few times, please do that. It just depends on how much time you have, all right? This is a shorter class. It's only about 45 minutes, so please feel free to pause video and take more time trying these things. All right, so we're going to come to seated, get a little boat pose in. I'm going to use these 2 blocks. I love having the 2 blocks. I like them like this with the hands in front. You can have them with your hands behind you. But when I put my hands down in front, it keeps me from rounding under like this. So we don't want to round under. Lift your chest, lift your belly, and come to the front of your sit bones rather than the back of your sit bones. Okay, so I'm going to use these blocks for these half boat, full boat pumps, whatever you want to call them. Slide your blocks back. Luckily, now here the slippery mat comes in handy, stupid mat. So the blocks can easily slide on it. And then you slide back to half boat. Ooh. Don't mind my facial expressions. Oh, God. Or if you want a good laugh, I guess don't do the boat and just watch me stick my tongue out and look like an idiot. Slide up and down. Half boat. Full boat. And half boat. Yep. And full boat. I absolutely hate these. Yeah, I'm done. So again, if you want to pause the video and do a few more of those, maybe you just take a break and do like 3 to 5. Take a few inhales. You can do a chaturanga up dog, and then you can come back and do like 3 to 5 more of them, and take another chaturanga up dog. I've had enough though, so I'm moving on. Come into tabletop when you have also had enough. Elbows on the floor. Tuck your toes, lift your knees, elbow dog. So we're going to swim the dolphin here. So feet come back a little wider, and then when you push forward, your sternum should go to your thumbs. So here I'm going into plank, chest to thumbs, and my shoulders are going towards my thumbs as well. So shoulders are way over the elbows. 3 to 5 of these is plenty. A little of these go a long way. My elbows were sliding out on this stupid mat, so reset them as you need if you have a stupid mat as well. Sliding forward. So you can wave your spine forward. It doesn't have to be anything pretty. It doesn't have to look like anything. I just want you to get those shoulders warmed up and heated up. This is strengthening your shoulders. It's strengthening your core. That's a really good prep move for headstand. When you've had enough, child's pose. How to know when you've had enough? I mean, your breath. Check in with your breath. All right, so I'm just going to come to seated for a moment to contemplate what I want to do next. All right, headstand it is. So here, if you saw the other video where I offered you a bunch of chair modifications, you could bring your chair in here and put your feet on a chair. If you've got a couch handy close by, put your feet on the couch or a seat. Half headstand, so it's Dandasana and headstand. And then you can lift your feet up when you're ready into headstand, Shirshasana. Try to pump that belly in and out. Push down through your elbows, press down into your wrists, and balance on the top of your head. Now, if you're not just sitting here holding this headstand, I want you to keep playing with feet on block, feet on chair, one leg lifts, one leg lowers. This is just a matter of building up neck strength and shoulder strength and elbow strength. And maybe you're revisiting those swimming dolphin movements. just to get to this place where you feel like your shoulders are strong enough to support your head. Because you don't want all the weight in your head. You want your head on the floor, but not all the weight in your head. Your neck muscles should be strong, and your head is pushing the floor away. It's not just dumping. It's pushing the floor away along with your wrists and elbows. And then if you're going to take this half pike again, drop your feet and let your hips sink back over your head more. Good, and then feet to the floor. Child's pose, Balasana. Nice few quiet moments here in Balasana. All right, then we're going to move into a seated so that we can set up for camel pose, Ustrasana. Pad up your knees if you need some padding. Grab your 2 blocks. And then you can set those blocks back next to your heels. Put your palms on the blocks, fingers pointing towards your thighs. And then lift your chest up to the ceiling. You can let your head come back. Now listen, if your head's going back fine, just don't let it drop. You're going to squeeze your upper back with the back of your neck. So it's almost like you've got a grapefruit back there in the back of your neck that you're holding up. Try not to let it drop. You can then start to take your hands to your hips and lean back with your chest and up to the ceiling with your chest. Good, and then you can sit down for a moment here. Now take the blocks behind you. So these are just 3 different options for camel. You don't have to do all of these. Find the one that works best for you. Play with it. So what I just did from the floor there, hands were on the blocks, and then I walked my hands forward to my heels and pressed into it. So this looks like the best setup for me. In the second one, my hips were way too far forward. I didn't like it. So you can rewind this, pause it, and play with that, right? Give yourself some time to explore camel. All right, and when you're finished with your camel pose, I'm going to come to seated. Right, and just start with a cross-legged position, twist to one side again. We did this at the beginning of class. And then come out of that, center, and twist to the other side. And then come out of that. Easy seated pose. All right, so we're going to work into a little pose called Utplutihi. I can't remember now what it's called. It doesn't matter. Utplutihi. It's Utupli, whatever. Anywho. Lotus if you can, half lotus if it's better. So half lotus here, I've got my right heel into my hip crease. The left foot is just kind of dangling. Got 2 blocks next to my hips. Now I'm going to slide that other foot up into full lotus. 2 blocks are going to come back into play. And if you can't take any kind of lotus, keep your ankles crossed or even your feet on the floor, knees to your chest, and you can lift your butt up. I'm going to go no blocks. I'm going to hold this for just a few breaths, all right? So find the one that works best for you, half lotus, full lotus, or you could come as seated and feet on the floor, lift your butt off the floor. Take your chin forward, your gaze forward, your knees lift up towards your shoulders, and your shoulders are moving over your fingertips. And then lower down. We're going to take a few moments here to breathe. Inhale, and exhale, release. Find a pause at the bottom of your exhale. And then when you inhale, smooth breath up to the tips of your lungs. You can practice Jalandhara Bandha by dropping your chin into the jugular notch. Pause at the bottom of the inhale. And then release your chin when you exhale. Find a pause at the bottom of the exhale. And then again, inhale. If you practice Jalandhara Bandha, chin to chest, pause. Exhale, release. Inhale, fill up. And then chin to chest, pause. Exhale, release. Pause. And then inhale, normal breath. All right, we're going to sit up for the second side. So again, you can take your heel up to the hip crease, so it's opposite leg this time, left foot into the right hip crease. You can stay there with half lotus, and your right foot is on the floor. Your right foot might even help to push the floor away, in addition with your hands, in addition to the hands on the blocks. And then you can try this without the blocks if you'd like, but then you could also start to set that other foot up into half lotus or full lotus. Utplutihi is the pose. When I don't think about it, I can recall it fine. And then blocks, come back in, lift up your legs. You can opt for no blocks if you'd like. And then again, you can keep your feet out of the lotus position, knees are bent, feet to the floor, and just lift your butt up off the floor. Look forward, press your hips back and your shoulders forward. And keep pulling your butt up away from the floor. Awesome. Lower down slowly. And again, just easy sit here. So if you want to keep your legs in lotus or come to cross to ankles. And again here, inhale, breath, ratio breathing with a slight pause. So try to get your exhale to be slightly longer than the inhale. And you can count the breath if that helps. So as you inhale, nice big pump of the belly. You can practice Jalandhara Bandha, chin to chest at the bottom of the inhale. Pause. And then exhale, release your chin, release your breath, pause with your gaze neutral. Inhale, fill it back up. Chin to chest, pause. Exhale, pause. Inhale, chin to chest. Exhale, release your chin. You can skip that Jalandhara Bandha and just keep your chin neutral as well. Take your natural breath here and release your legs out of lotus. Then we'll come around to face forward. Ease out of that. Sometimes it's coming out of that that's stickier than being in it. Oof. Situate yourself for an easy forward fold. Straight legs. If you need something under your hips to lift your hips up so that your hips can tilt anteriorly, so that you want your sit bone stretching back behind you. Maybe a block under your forehead. And smooth out your breath here. In and out of your nose. Take as long as you'd like here. We're going to move into a relaxation posture. And so you can set up with those two blocks if you want to use them under your hands. Sometimes that's nice and grounding. Let your legs relax, scoot your heels away from you and let your toes fall open. Let your shoulder blades come to the floor. Another option is those two blocks under the backs of your hamstrings just to help alleviate any low back tension or pain. And just take a few moments here to focus on your body, taking a somatic awareness, noticing your head, your face, your jaw, your eyes, your teeth, your tongue. And then take your awareness to your throat, the back and the front. Notice your shoulders. Notice your arms, right arm and left arm. Notice your hands, right hand, left hand. Notice your heart, your chest, the back of your heart. Notice your belly, your low back. And then bring your attention to your hips, the back of your hips, the front of your hips. And then moving your attention to your legs. Notice your right leg. Notice your left leg. Notice your feet, your right foot and your left foot. And then let your attention travel back up your body from your toes, back up your legs, through your hips to your heart. Your hopes and dreams, your desires, your wishes, your intentions. And then back up through your fingers, up through your shoulders, up through your face and your head. And feel free to stay here for as long as you'd like. Thanks, yogis.